Doctor Who is finally back. And it's been the best it's been in a long, long time.
Oh, yes.
We're going to leave some of the surrounding anniversary stuff for our sort of wrap-up anniversary video in a couple of weeks' time, because today is all about The Star Beast, which is written by Russell T Davies, directed by Rachel Talalay, and broadcast on the 25th of November, 2023. Do you know how good it feels to say that? The fact that we finally have a new episode to talk about, which we haven't done before. I am so excited to actually be able to talk about a new episode. I've been waiting for this now. Pretty much as soon as it finished, I wanted to jump on and start recording it. But I already had a little bit too much cheese and wine, and it wouldn't have been a good idea.
No. Hell no. I'm glad we didn't, to be honest. Maybe this week we will.
Maybe, could do,
Yeah.
to be fair.
I absolutely love this. It's just David Tennant and Donna Noble, Catherine Tate, back together. Instant chemistry right from the off.
You can just see how close the two of them are, because they just straight away, it's like no time has passed. Just not even from the characters, just from how they look at each other, and it just everything just came back together. Now, can we start with, before we start gushing properly, can we talk about the pre-title sequence in the credits, please?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit weird.
Why is it opening on like a character selection screen?
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to go drop into Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, I get why it's there, to sort of like remind people what's gone on and everything, but I'm sure we could have just done with sort of like a narrated montage would have been fine.
Well, I mean, we didn't that would have been alright, but we didn't really need that, because you had that chat between Shirley Ann Bingham and the Doctor where he's going through like the whole Donna stuff.
Yeah, but I mean that takes place a good 10 minutes into the episode. We need to get people straight back into it, caught up where they are. I mean, I didn't want to have just a boring previously on trailer kind of thing, but they have a bit of a montage, but just have a montage that's narrated by them and maybe a shot of them, just before the credits kick in, would have been fine. The credits. Now, the theme tune itself, I have absolutely zero notes. Absolutely perfect. Love it. Brilliant. Fantastic. The credits. Now, how do some parts of it look the best credits we've ever had? In fact, 90% of it does. I love the TARDIS like surfing along the vortex. I love that bit where it turns into that 3D model of it just like spinning down past the credits. But why do the names appear before the ooh, ooh bit? Right, that sort of threw me off. And
For the what bit?
I'm not doing it again. You know what I mean. And why does the logo have like a PowerPoint like spin into it? It's not lit properly. It's not a 3D model. Doctor Who Unleashed got a proper 3D model of the logo that sort of spins around and is lit up nice and cool. And even the reveal of the logo where it sort of like flickers in, I thought we were going to get that, but it just goes and it's there. And I was like, oh, that sort of took me out of it a little bit. And I quite would have preferred it to be sort of one shot rather than cutting back and forth. I like the idea of following the TARDIS. But it's a minor nitpick at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just want to throw my 2 pence in the sequence discussion.
I see the bits you're nitpicking at there. I did like the new banner badge logo.
Mm-hmm.
One of them. I didn't really notice that. I mean, I saw it come up, but I didn't notice the way it came up. I was just so like, oh my god, this is just beautiful.
It did. I didn't really I didn't think of it much at the time. It's only one I've seen this 4 times.
Yeah.
3 just on its own and 1 with the commentary. But just seeing the way that the logo just appears from nowhere and isn't lit. But we're not going to get all bogged down in the negative nonsense because David Tennant is back. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love the costume. I know I've said this multiple times, but seeing it properly in action there, I adore that coat. I love the waistcoat and the trousers thing rather than the full suit and the coat. It looks a bit more comfy. It doesn't look like a costume. It looks like something that you could get away with just wearing. I would like a suit like that.
Yeah.
The waistcoat and things. If anyone's getting married anytime soon, I can just wear something like that.
In the words of Donna Noble, you can wear a suit like that until you're 35.
That was just classic Donna. But he slips into the effortlessly, and he's just this episode gives him enough chance to flex like the comedy things that he nails so well, but also the heartbreaking dramatic stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. But that initial scene where he's like sort of, the vibes of him just walking around London, just smiling, just enjoying himself. This is a David Tennant who's not playing the 10th Doctor, but this 14th Doctor just feels like an organic development of the 10th Doctor. He's not weighed down by that. baggage of the Time War, and we see later on through the episode, you know, he's more emotionally mature. Like, he's saying things like, oh, I love you, I love that man, you know, saying to Donna how losing him, like, killed him. You know, he's very honest about his emotions and stuff, and he's not got that sort of arrogant side that the 10th Doctor had that does bug me in a few places. This is a properly, like, for me, the 14th Doctor after one episode I much prefer the 10th Doctor, because there's enough in there for it to be a difference, but it doesn't feel like he's doing it like playing a completely different Doctor, because I think at the time I did want that, but then I realised, you know, like Russell T Davies said in a couple of interviews, there's no point getting David Tennant back if he's not going to be the David Tennant that we know, and especially for when there's only 3 episodes, it just makes sense.
You want that nostalgia fan hit.
Yeah. And I definitely got that. You know, there's, like I said, that there's just the vibe of that. I love that scene in the taxi with Sean where he was talking about Neris. That had me howling with laughter. You know, she's fine after the accident. She's not fine. It was her fault. She's been fined. Like, it was just, it was brilliant. But I just think it's great. I love the code word thing of him unlocking the Metacrisis. You know, it's not just a simple, and it was like a, you know, it felt quite like almost like a sort of a Bucky Barnes kind of thing with the code words and locking it and everything, and it finishing on that binary as a callback to when Donna's mind started to burn up at the end of Journey's End, which was quite nice to watch that before the Star Beast, because it was the first time I've watched it and not been a bit sad, because, you know, well, this is going to be fine in about half an hour's time.
Yeah.
On first watch, I did think that it took a little bit of time to get Donna's memory back, but now after I've seen it a couple of times, I think it's perfect the way it is.
So they done really well with that. They were teasing it throughout the episode. You had that bit where she was like, in the back of the truck when they're getting taken by the meat. She's there saying, I gave him money away because that's what he would do. But he never mentioned a name, so everyone's like...
And then she does, which Sylvia picks up on as well.
Yeah, she does say, if I don't go and help the Doctor, I've got to help the Doctor. And she goes, she's just called him Doctor.
Do you know what I'm really glad about? Because I was a bit worried that we were going to go back to, like, Runaway Bride Donna, where she's quite shouty and she's quite... and everything. And
we got a bit of that.
There is a bit of that there, but it's within... the context of what's happening, it's perfectly understandable, because most people would have had the same reaction. You know, she's not as abrasive, she's matured, she's a mother now, she's a brilliant mother to Rose, she's fiercely protective of her, and I love that the hints of the Doctor's Honor are still there, like you said, about her giving her money away and everything, and there's still that thing of her drawing everything together, that, you know, the Doctor regenerates into this form that he's already had, the TARDIS lands just around the corner from her, then a spaceship crashes that she misses, this alien then meets her daughter, and it's all still that destiny thing drawing her in. And I love that. But I just think she's brilliant. That scene where she's, you know, defending Rose. Well, not defending Rose to the boys, but, you know, just sort of, you know, you can tell that she's not happy that Rose is getting treated like that by those kids on the bikes. Yeah.
And that leads into a very, very good scene. And I really like it for what it does. The scene between Donna and Sylvia.
Yeah, because we'll get into the stuff more about Rose in a little bit. But to have that scene with Donna and Sylvia, though, admitting that, because it'd be quite easy to go, well, Donna's got this daughter, she's trans, and she nails everything, and so does Sylvia, and so does Sean, and have that, but it's quite real for them to go, well, I'm not even sure if I'm always getting it right. And
you know... Is it alright to say she looks gorgeous?
And, you know, Donna's like, well, does she? Yes, so it's fine. And, you know, we get that bit of Sylvia slipping up with the pronouns and everything, but it's not a case of her slipping up and being like, oh, well, she acknowledges that mistake, and she goes, I didn't, and you could tell there's an uncomfortableness of, I really didn't mean to do that, and you could tell it's a mistake, and you could tell that they're really trying to create this safe environment for Rose, which is something that's so important. And it, you know, for me and you to notice that as to cisgendered people, how must that be to people who aren't cisgendered, you know, whether they're non-binary or trans or whatever, to see that sort of representation in Doctor Who is phenomenal. And we'll get more a bit into that with Rose, but, you know, I think to have the acknowledgement that not everyone's perfect, and you can still try your best to still make mistakes, but as long as you are, you know, acknowledging your mistakes and learning from them and trying your best, then there's really not much more you can do in that situation.
There's nothing more you can do.
But yeah, no, Donna's fantastic. I love the comedy bits. That scene where the Meep is coming into the house and the Doctor's at the door with Sylvia is just comic, with the Meeps hugging like, get off me, you space rat! But no, can we talk about Sylvia, please?
Yes.
Jacqueline King stole every scene she was in this for me.
Yeah.
Every single scene she was in, she was perfect. Whether it was the more quieter sort of concerns around, you know, Donna sort of thinking, I feel like I've lost something really important and everything. And, you know, we get that in-universe explanation of she's had a breakdown or whatever, and something has happened that's caused her to forget a load of stuff, but, she's still, even 15 odd years later, is doing her best to keep Donna away from all of this and make sure she's all right, and put all of her time into doing that. And she's grown so much as well in these last 10, 13 years since we've last seen her. She's gone from being that quite, not horrible, but she was a bit rude and a bit sort of callous in parts, but to have her turn into that more, she caring. Feels like a caring grandma to Rose. She's there to Donna, looking after her and everything, even coming round when they're out and everything and making dinner for them. Although Tuna Madras.
Yeah.
Tuna Madras.
I'm sorry. Get HelloFresh.
No, we're not sponsored. We're not sponsored.
Get a takeaway. Just get him a takeaway.
Just tuna, man. Who is eating tuna? Who is eating tuna in 2023? I mean, we've put men on the moon and people are still feeling the need to eat it. It's disgusting, honestly.
It's vile stuff. Come at us in the comments, people.
Yeah, tuna defenders.
No, but I know what you mean. So, just seeing Sylvia being so much more caring of Donna and doing everything she can to try and just keep her alive, basically, because she knows that if she remembers the Doctor, because they did make the distinction between remember and seeing, which does and that makes ties up Journey's End a bit, because obviously the Doctor goes and says goodbye.
Yeah, and she does obviously see him, but because she doesn't remember who she is and everything, it's who he is rather. It works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Donna's great. The Metacrisis stuff is interesting because I love the way that it's brought back into that they're separated by that glass pane, very reminiscent of the 10th Doctor and Wilf in The End of Time. Big glass thing in between them, and they can't do anything, and the only way to save London is to bring back the Dr. Donna. And straight away it's like she's back to that sort of hilariously Dr. Donna that we saw just very briefly at the end, with the techno babbles coming out about 100 miles per hour and everything, and
rant about all her money.
Yeah, so I gave all of my money away.
Do you know why?
Yeah, because I wanted to be like you. But she's clearly very happy to see the Doctor again properly, and you can see it on Tennant's face just how much it means to the Doctor to have this Donna back, even just for a second. I worked out very quickly when we did the binary and the regeneration happens, but Donna then is still she's not dead. And I was thinking, this has gone into Rose, hasn't it? It's been dilated. She's passed on this because as soon as I saw that regeneration energy, it clicked in my head. I was like, oh, it's Rose. Rose is the key to this because she's regenerated, but it's not killed her. This regeneration would have been passed down biologically to her daughter. And that's when it clicked for me then. And I think that's great. That way of going, well, this is how the Met Crisis doesn't kill her because she's passed it down into her child and it's almost essentially half the power of it. So it's not going to kill her. Just a quick regeneration blast to get rid of it all. And she's still the same Donna. And they have a great scene, blah, blah, blah. But then the end bit where they've got to let it go again, and they just have that really clunky bit of dialogue where it's like, well, you as a male presenting Time Lord wouldn't know. Just let it go. And it's like, number one, the whole letting it go thing after they've already regenerated just didn't really feel needed. That line felt a bit weird. And because the whole thing with the whole binary, non-binary aspect of it, and embracing the Doctor's gender fluidity, only for them to turn around like 5 minutes later and go, yeah, well, you're just a man. You wouldn't know how to let this go, would you? Oh, you silly man. You're a man. That was a bit like not really needed for me.
Yeah, no.
That was.
I feel they could have gone about that in a much different way.
And I think it was a shame because the whole like gender identity, that's not a word, gender identity stuff up to that point had been so strong. It was just that one little bit of the whole male presenting Time Lord, just let it go. It's like, but you've already regenerated.
Yeah, it was.
I can see why, obviously, because you've still got that in your head, and we need to have the pre-Dr. Donna, but still knowing the Dr. Donna. That was confusing, but I nailed it. That was fine, but the whole, like, you wouldn't know because you're just a man and we can let it go and everything, felt a little bit tacked on, especially so soon after, like I said, the whole bit about the Doctor is male and female and neither, and is it more or both or whatever Rose says.
Yeah.
That's great. That's all fine. That's wonderful. And I like the fact that because I think there could have been a bit of concern of going from the first ever full-time female Doctor to regenerating back into arguably the most popular, generally speaking, male Doctor could have been seen as a bit of a step back, but to still embrace that side of, yeah, I was a woman and now I'm not, but I could be again and it doesn't really matter anyway because it's still the Doctor, is great. So I don't think that line was needed, but mine a little nitpick. But I think Yasmin Finney, as Rose. I've not seen Heartstopper, because that was the big thing around the time. Is Heartstopper the series that she's in?
Yeah.
Netflix one.
Netflix. Yes. Yeah.
I've not seen it yet, but I know a lot of people have, and they've been very impressed with her. And it was mentioned quite a lot when she was in Doctor Who. It was in the press releases, Heartstopper's Yasmin Finney joins Doctor Who and everything. So I hadn't seen her in anything before this. I thought she was great.
Yeah, no, she really did well.
She plays such a, that, you can tell that there's a bit of Donna's daughter in there, especially, you can tell there's definitely, she's Donna's daughter in some aspects, but she very much is her own character as well. Because it could be quite easy to have, well, I'm Donna Noble's daughter and I'm all shouting, but she has those quieter moments, especially that scene in the shed with the meep and everything, where she's talking about, feeling lonely and being different and everything, and, the dead naming stuff, and the fact that she doesn't just, you could quite easily have, well, Donna's daughter would have gone after them and everything, but it's like, no, she's her own person, and she sort of deals with it in a quiet way of going into the shed and everything and speaking to the meep, and the fact that she's trying to raise money make a bit of money for Donna and Sean. She's bringing out the best of her family in terms of, Sean's so gushing with love for her and Donna, and Sylvia in a way as well, saying how he's got the best girls in the world and everything, and he's such a, he's bringing out the best in them, and the whole, her identity as a trans person is so could have been quite easily something that the episode focused too much on or too little on, and it just, I think, finds that perfect balance of it being perfectly woven into the story. And I'm saying this, like I said, as a cisgender person, I could sit there and go, yeah, that was great, but there are people way more qualified than me and you to speak on this, and you can just see the reactions on Twitter and stuff from all corners of the fandom, and I think everybody sort of embraced Yasmin Finney as Rose. She feels very doctory in that scene where her regeneration happens with the flipping the switches, and she's, that was very doctory as well, which I loved. And I love that the whole trans stuff is going to upset the right people as well, because there's been a little bit of, the usual bell ends rearing their idiotic heads
from their parents' basement on Twitter.
Yeah, crying because the Doctor Who isn't exactly like how it was, and it's all political and woke. It's been political since 1963, and if you don't think that, you either haven't been paying attention or you're just stupid.
Yeah, just look at the Daleks. There is a very political point there.
Yeah. And look at the John Pertwee era. Look at stuff in the Andrew Cartmel Seventh Doctor era. There's loads of examples of it, and if you haven't found any before 2018, as people like to point out, then you're just idiots and you're not paying enough attention. But I am going to try and stop winding people up on Twitter, maybe. But yeah, Yasmin Finney, brilliant. I think we're going to see a bit more of her as well through Shooty's era and stuff. I think we've had that sort of. I think it's been hinted, hasn't it? Because they've said that there's been stuff with Shooty and Yasmin that's been filmed, whether that's for these specials or for later on. I could see it being later on. I can
see it being Christmas, maybe.
Potentially, it could be like a bit of a linchpin between the 60th and the.
She could be a part-time companion and drop out during the season 1.
Yeah, sorry. I could see her being a sort of River Song character that just crops up here and there and stuff. Like Kate Stewart are and things, and having Rose just pop up, and now it just adds to that bit of world building. And I think that's something that I feel has been lacking the last couple of years, where it's been just the core cast and it's completely been different. Yeah, you've had Yaz's family here and there in very sort of small roles, but to have people that are engaged in the story and then go away from it and come back and stuff, that's what I like about Doctor Who.
It's refreshing, then, isn't it?
And we're supposed to be, I think we're going to have a lot of Mel coming up as well. She's going to be in these.
Wait for that.
I think apparently she's going to be in Christmas and next year, and she was in Power of the Doctor last year as well. Mel could be, the similar type of character that Rose could be, and I'm all here for it. It's great.
Yeah. Now, it wouldn't be right to talk about the Noble family without mentioning the Wilf stuff.
Yes, because there's the scene where they're talking about him, and at the time it's played for laugh, but it feels a bit more poignant now, going, he's not with us anymore, and the Doctor has that moment of I love that man and everything.
Yeah.
For them to turn around, he's not dead, you idiot, he's 94, he can't do the stairs. And then the fact that Kate and Unit have put him up in some sheltered accommodation and stuff is really lovely.
Yeah, I was going to say, since the fact that Bernard Cribbins has passed, that scene where the Doctor's I really love that man, that just hits different.
I think if Bernard Cribbins was still with us, that scene would have been a lot more played for laughs. I mean, there's still that laugh in there, but I think it would have been.
Yeah, it still got a good laugh. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah,
and then them jetting off to go and find Wilf as well. Go and see Wilf as well.
Yeah, Sean, I loved. We didn't see a lot of Sean in End of Time, but to have him, come back even without that is great. I love that he has that scene with the Doctor in the taxi. It felt like a very organic way of catching us up with where the Noble family are, in the way that he's just having a chinwag with a taxi driver, because it could have been quite exposition dumpy somewhere. It could have been something like a conversation with Shirley where she's going, well, we've got all this intel on the Noble family, and it's this and this happened, and this has happened, and this has happened, and it would have felt a bit clunky, whereas that felt quite organic. Sean's good fun. Like I said, he's so, proud of his family, and the scene, he's another one of the reasons why that scene with the Meep is hilarious, when he comes in and he's like, Dad, so, and he just sees the Meep, and there's that sort of silent beat, and he goes, something smells nice, which it probably doesn't if it's tuna, but we're not going back there.
No.
Tuna Madras. And the bit at the end as well, where Donna's sort of, you get that old joke of, that was so present through series 4 of the Doctor and Donna being a couple and then being like, no. And even now, Donna's husband's like, yeah, I mean, I could be worried if you were going off with a man into a box, but not him. And it's just another one of shooting that joke down. But even David Tennant's a bit like, oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, to have Donna, to have Sean and Sylvia in those sort of supporting roles with, obviously the focus is Dr. Donna and Rose, and to have Sean and Sylvia to still be there. But yeah, I love that. Another thing as well with Sylvia is how, like I said, with the range and everything, she gets the funny stuff, she gets the quiet stuff, but she has that really lovely moment as well where the Doctor, Sean and Donna and Rose are hugging after everything's been sorted, and the Doctor runs up to Sylvia and everything, and they have a bit of a hug, and she's smiling away at him and everything, and it feels really lovely. It's like a proper sort of homecoming feel to this golden era.
Yeah, it's like she said, I believe the quote was, my father would be proud, and there's no higher compliment.
Yeah. I love that. What other characters have we got to talk? Oh, Shirley.
Yes.
Shirley and
we got one big character to talk about as well.
We'll get to that in a moment. I'm talking about the human characters. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Shirley's cool. I like Shirley. It's quite nice to have someone from UNIT meet the Doctor and not be all like, oh my god, it's the Doctor. Especially the scientific. Yeah, Osgood, Malcolm. Things like that. It's nice for it not to just be played for, here's another funny little science nerd goofing over the Doctor. She's just a scientist. She knows who the Doctor is, but and she has that cool meeting with him in the scene where they're talking about the ship and everything, and there's no sort of, what's the word, fangirling, I guess. She's just there, she knows what's going on, they have that conversation, and even the Doctor's a bit surprised. He's like, what, waited your whole life? And she's just like, yeah, you wish, and she just, heads off to check out the ship. And her being in a wheelchair as well is something that is another step forward in the positive. And it's sort of similar to what we talked about with Davros as well in the Children in Need special, where, she faces adversity being a wheelchair user, but it's not limiting her, because, there's that moment where they're like, oh, sorry about the stairs, not a lot we can do. And she's like, don't make me the problem, just get in there, find out what's going on. She's taking control of that situation, but not in a way that could be quite easily, again, that could have been quite ham-fisted in some areas with, it could have been a big 2-minute speech of why, well, I should have a ramp into these random... It could have been something like that, but it wasn't. It was just straight to the point, no messing around. Shirley still feels very organic as a character, but still faces adversity, but not in an overdone way, in a very natural feeling way.
Can we just talk about how awesome her chair is as well?
Oh, of course, with the darts and the rocket launch. That was
brilliant.
That was such a, it was like a spy film, like a unit have gone full on, James Bond gadgets and everything. That's really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Especially when she's just sort of she turns up at the lift with the guards, and she just gets them both with the stun bullets. Stun darts. Bullets? Stun bullets. That's what you do. But stun darts and everything. And there's that line that really, what was it? She says, the Doctor's like, oh, you've got weapons in your wheelchair. And she's like, oh, we all do. Which is something that could have been quite flatly delivered, but I think Ruth Madeley is a great actress. I don't know if anyone's seen Years and Years, but she's in that, and she's phenomenally good in that. So I could totally see why she's in this. Very much looking to see more of her.
Yeah.
Which I think, well, obviously we are going to get now if she's a member of UNIT, because we've got Kate coming up in the specials as well. I presume this third one, the finale to all of this.
And then we got everything with Shooty as well, and there's no way in hell they're gonna not let him have a run with UNIT.
Oh, we already know it's going to happen. We know Kate's coming back for series 14. I could see Ruth Madeley coming along as well, and I quite like how that. I did find it weird though. The Doctor was like, "Well, I was scientific advisor number 1. I think you weren't, mate. You were number 2, because Liz Shaw was there first. Thank you very much." But minor nitpick.
Yeah.
Beep the Meep.
I
Because we haven't actually touched on that so far, that this is actually an adaptation of a story from a comic from the 80s. I've read the comic years and years and years and years ago, and I have listened to the audio adaptation about 2 years ago, maybe more. I don't know.
See, I've just read the comic because I made sure I did that before this episode.
Yeah, I think it was quite fun to see the differences, because obviously the family in that, like, Sharon is replaced with Rose. Mrs. Higgins is obviously the rest of the Noble family and everything. And I think it works quite well. Like, as an adaptation, it's not a straight adaptation of, we're just going to do this completely, you know, it just basically takes the story of the Meep and the Wrath Warriors. And I think it does lose a little bit of the fun from the comic in terms of the Wrath Warriors. There's not, like, obviously the big reveal, I'm not going to say spoilers because you've seen the episode, that obviously Beep is...
You should have by now anyways.
Were you watching this before, and what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah.
Not that we're thankful, just skip to the end so, you know, boost the algorithm. What is going on with this chair? But to see the Wrath Warriors and them switch, that obviously you think they're evil and Beep's the nice little cute one. It's actually the other way around. You don't see enough of that nice side of the Wrath Warriors that you do in the comics. Like, there's none of them sitting down for dinner and everything. That is... But at the end of the day, we only had an hour to fill, and the priority is the Doctor and Donna coming back together. And this is a fun... And it does feel like something that, like, the plot itself, without thinking of it as an adaptation, feels very much like a Russell T Davies series opener. It's that proper family feel. It's present-day Earth. You know, it's that familiar setting with mad shit going on. But it works.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, Miriam Margolyes did really well.
She's having the time of her life in that role.
Russell T Davies deserves some form of medal from keeping her from swearing for an hour. Nothing against her, but she does love her bad language, innit?
It's all the edits that are coming out of people, you know, editing famous lines of hers over the top of the Meep. I thought that was interesting that it's constantly referred to, the Meep is referred...
The definitive article.
Not just that, but the fact that the Beep, it seems to be... It's mentioned once, but for the most part, the Beep, they refer to themselves as just the Meep. There's no... It's Beep the Meep. I think that's in there once. Interesting choice. I don't know where that came from, but hey, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that court session as well. Nice little callback to Tom Baker.
Yeah, and Stones of Blood.
Tennant and
with what do you call them?
I'd just call it a wig.
Yeah, like a barrister's wig.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun little callback, little Easter egg there. But the Meep looks so cool because you've got like a blend of practical and CGI, and like some shots where it's running around upstairs and stuff is fully CGI. Other times it's like animatronics with the face, and then you've got someone inside the actual costume moving it around. Then you've got like Miriam Margolyes' like motion capture mapped onto it as well. Like that blend of everything just works so well because like you see it and you think you're not looking at something that's obviously practical or obviously CGI. It feels very real.
Yeah.
Which is something I think sometimes Doctor Who has struggled with, you know, either going too hard on the CGI or not enhancing practical stuff enough to make it look real and relying too much on that. So this is a perfect blend. And obviously, you know, we say this every era, but it just keeps looking better and better the more money that comes into it.
Oh, yeah.
And a significant amount of that is coming from the mouse. But it's very cool. One thing I will say with these new effects, and I think I'm going to sound like a right fun sponge when I say this, but I don't want this overpowered sonic screwdriver to stay. For the 60th...
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, for these specials, as like a treat, it works. And like it's a very cool... Because I watched Doctor... We'll come to Doctor Unleashed as well, actually. But the shields and everything is fine. But I don't want to see that going forward. I don't mind the heads-up display. That works because quite often you see them, like, you know, they've all looked at things and it doesn't have a screen, so how do they know this?
Yes.
And to have a display, that would work. That's fine.
Yeah, it's nice to actually see what they're seeing when they look at the screwdriver. Like.
Yeah, but the shields and everything was just, for me, it was a little bit like, it's a bit far, but I could, if it's just for these, like, anniversary specials, it's a bit of a treat and a bit of like a, hey, look what we can do now. It works.
But look, we've got a budget.
Yeah, but I don't want to see every time, like, next series when Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson getting chased down corridors, he just stops and puts up a shield. It's going to feel... And if he doesn't do that every time, it's going to be like, well, there's an obvious solution to that, and it sort of takes you out of it a bit. Because they've got this new overpowered Sonic, but then in the spaceship, he's still getting shut out by deadlocks. And it's like, well, if you could put up these shields out of nowhere, surely you couldn't overcome deadlocks. I feel like as well with the Meep, the whole psychedelic sun thing possessing some of the soldiers. So you've got that 3-way battle of the Wrath Warriors, good unit, and possessed unit. Sort of all get, and then like the Meep and the Doctor and Donna and all getting caught in the crossfire, was good fun. But because it's Rose, isn't it? When she's had the Metacrisis thing, that she reverses the psychedelic sun effect. And I thought that's a perfect way to get rid of the Metacrisis. Surely you just fiddle some more switch and go, right, now we're going to take the Metacrisis away using the same technology for the Meep ship and everything. That would have felt a bit more
organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. The Meep was a brilliant villain.
Yeah.
So my missus thought Meep was cute and could never be evil. And I told her beforehand, don't have any feelings for him because he's a bastard. And she went and got feelings for the Meep and was just left like upset that Meep was evil. And I was like, well, I told you. Meep bad.
Yeah.
I said, never trust a Meep.
That was a sort of advantage because we had a lot of people around watching this, which was another thing I really enjoyed about that as well, because we did that last year for Pal Doctor. But it was quite funny to sort of like me and you sort of looking at each other when certain things were happening that everyone else didn't know. That was good fun.
Yeah.
Murray Gold is back as well.
Yes.
And I love that he's back, but he's not being over the top and like every time someone's running down a corridor. And there's a couple of musical callbacks as well. We get like the original sad Doctor theme. Then when the Dr. Donna is back, you get I Am the Doctor blaring, kicking in just very subtly. And that theme when they see the new TARDIS is beautiful.
That TARDIS.
As is the TARDIS itself.
That TARDIS is absolutely gorgeous.
It's just stunning.
I want it.
It's stunning. I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, because it's a very lazy way to review things by picking out and going something and go, well, this was better than when they did it in Jodie's era, or this was better when they did it in Capaldi's era. But I really didn't get on with Jodie's TARDIS. I thought it was just a mess.
Dark.
It's too dark. It didn't suit her Doctor. It felt a bit sort of rusty.
Felt more Capaldi than anything.
Yeah, even the console and the salt pillar vibe and everything I don't get. Like this TARDIS now looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got those lights, and I think the reaction that David Tennant had would be exactly the reaction I had if I was ever allowed on there. I would be running around the whole thing with joy, and you know, the lights and how they're all like, apparently because I listened to the commentary and they said that they're all individually programmed, they can spell out words and stuff, and you can but they kept that lovely exterior from Jodie's, which I love.
Yeah.
And I just think that inside of it, and there's not a big, you know, we haven't had a big like blow up the other TARDIS thing. It's just gone, oh, you've changed. Out of the blue. Yeah,
the decision to run around the TARDIS was not Russell's. It was actually David Tennant's as well.
And a combination of David Tennant and Rachel Talalay's. And I love did you see the anecdote where he was saying it was a great idea at the time, but when you came to like a few takes in, you sort of start to feel a bit knackered, which you would, running around that enormous set.
I love the full 360 sets now instead of what happened in...
Was that wasn't a 360, was it?
Yeah.
It looked like it was sort of got to that, it was sort of like a chopped off semi-set, because I don't remember seeing the other side of it.
When they walked into it, you could see the other side of it.
No, I mean the side from where the camera is.
Oh.
I'll
have to have another look. But
let us know in the comments.
Yeah, the set is absolutely gorgeous.
It's beautiful. Because there were discussions of whether or not it was going to be, you know, kept for shooties and everything. I hope they do.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, so much money's. I can't see them.
I can't see them spending all that money, because that would have cost a fortune to have a set that big with all those individual lights and everything that can be controlled. They're not going to have that for 3 episodes and then bring in a new one. No. And you can't, because it's beautiful and I love it.
Yeah, they might change it during Shooty's run.
I could see them doing like a sort of like a Matt Smith Capaldi thing, where it's sort of like maybe a bit more
slightly,
you know, lighting changes and stuff, and maybe a bit of furniture, like a couple of chairs or something, or a bookcase, and I don't know,
a guitar.
Something, you know, stuff like that to make it feel a bit more, because at the minute, because obviously, it's brand new, it's very clinical at the minute, and like you said, doesn't have that. That wasn't me, that was a chair.
Well,
it doesn't have that personal touch to it just yet, but then we've only just seen it, haven't we?
And then Donna went and threw coffee over the whole thing.
Which I love, because she's just talking about how she lost her job by pouring coffee on a computer, and she's like, what could possibly go wrong, and just spills this coffee. Oh my god, I did it again. Which is hilarious, and you know, those sparks and everything look awesome, and
the way they did the fire on it as well, brilliant. And I love that interaction where they're both like nerding out over the TARDIS as well. It kind of felt a bit more like Catherine and David.
Yeah, there was not a lot of acting there, you can tell.
It was just pure. It seemed like pure excitement on behalf of the actors, and it kind of makes me feel that maybe that was one of the first times they'd seen it.
Yeah, I mean, you could have told me that was David Tennant's first time seeing it, and I would have believed you. Yeah. Obviously, it's not, because you've got to plan the route of running around it and everything and all that technical bollocks. But
it could have been the first time seeing it in the flesh, because you can do that on the screen.
Yeah, true, but you know, to get your bearings around something, you've got to run around it properly, haven't you? But I'd love to see that. Should we go break into Bad Wolf tonight? Just go have a look.
We need an alibi.
This video is live, and it'll be on a loop for the next 3 days, probably a bit longer because we might get arrested. I hope they let Rose go in there. I felt a bit gutted for her, because I would have been gutted for her if I was in that situation where I wanted to go in and they've got, no, you can't go inside, but I can. I was a bit like, oh,
that's a bit
poor Rose. But hopefully,
she's literally just helped save the world. Let her in the bloody TARDIS.
Well, she basically did save the world.
Yeah,
you know,
let her in the TARDIS for God's sake.
Yeah, she deserved a trip, but obviously she wasn't going to, because next week is going to be a bit weird.
Yes,
we don't know anything about it.
No.
Should we throw out some predictions now to wrap this up?
Yeah. So this is all obviously going to be the closed set stuff. I reckon this one's going to link quite heavily to the Giggle.
I think, yeah. I think
I
eventually
can't predict too much because I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, none of us really do. I mean, from what we've told, they just seem to be on some sort of ship. But I have a theory that originally I said it's something to do with the TARDIS going wrong, which can I claim a point for now, because it is. That's how they get there. Because Donna threw coffee over it, which counts.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Bing. But I think they've landed inside another TARDIS. Because some of in just a couple of the pictures in the trailer, you could see sort of very similar designs to stuff that's on the console. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I haven't seen this multiple times now, but you can see just little tiny, and I think they're in I don't know whose TARDIS, and it might not even be anyone's TARDIS, but I think it could be some sort of maybe like dying TARDIS somewhere. That
what should be Madeleine Monk?
Something, yeah, maybe. It could be Susan. It could be a previous Doctor that's TARDIS has gone wrong somehow and it's changed. I think
you're gonna hate me for this. It could be Clara and me.
It better not be. I don't see why they would do that. I don't see why they would put us through that.
It's a big loose end.
Good. Loose ends sometimes are okay. Not everything needs to be wrapped up, and I don't care for Clara or me, and I don't want to see him in Doctor Who again. Sorry, hot take, but whatever. You telling me that if you tell me that we have the potential next week to see Susan or something, or the 8th Doctor?
I take that.
Yeah, there we are. You've changed your tune now, haven't you?
Imagine if dude, Paul
to
McGann.
the corner, would you rather have Paul McGann standing there or Maisie Williams?
Paul McGann.
Yes, exactly. No, I think that leads me quite nicely into my next prediction. I think is going to be some form of returning character next week. I don't know who it could be, but I think next week's the one with the surprise. There's that. I think I remember a while ago in one of the magazines. I can't remember if it was Doctor Who magazine or SFX or something, but they said that the second episode opens with something that they filmed in public that they got away with, and there's quite a big surprise in there, and it's like the first shot of the episode. Like I'm talking like pre-titles.
Derek Jacobi is the master.
Do you imagine? Do you imagine?
I really wish that man would come back and do another stint as the master.
I think we are going to see Shooty next week in some form, whether it be some sort of flash forward or a full-on multi-Doctor thing. Because we only know about one cast member who's playing someone called Mrs. something. I can't remember now. I should have really written that down. But yeah, it looks very interesting. It's very vague. There was no next time trailer on the episode, but there was after Unleashed. Unleashed I love.
Yes.
That felt like proper Golden Age confidential stuff, and I think the idea of having a host there rather than just someone narrating bits to link it all together feels really nice. Stefan Powell is very likeable in the show. You could tell he's
experience as well.
Yeah,
he got involved with the lighting on the show.
Yeah, you could. It was the boom.
It was sound. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, same thing.
It's completely different, but yeah,
it's been a long day.
But I think he's great. I think he's such a likeable. I like the sort of jokes he's having with David Tennant with the coat and everything at the start. It feels proper, like it's got that sort of feel good vibe of like some of the bonus features on the DVDs and that sort of comfy vibe.
I feel like a kid again.
I do. And do you know how nice it is as well to be able to say that Doctor Who is on next week after watching an episode?
I know, and then I know it's 2 weeks. A week Saturday is the last of the specials, But then it's 2 weeks to the next episode.
Yeah, and then after that, it's what will be like a month or two, not 3.
March, April time.
Yeah, it's so nice for it to be back on properly.
Yeah,
like it's I'm obviously the specials were fun with Jodie Whittaker and everything, but the fact that you have one and then you've got to wait like 4 or 5 months for the next one is like it takes like I think that's what built my excitement up so much about this is because this has happened, and by this time next week we'll be talking about Wild Beyonder.
Yeah,
and by the week after we'll talk about The Giggle. And then
and then we'll have to rewatch all of it to do an overall summary on the 60th, which I have no problem doing.
Yeah, and then we could talk about things like the Daleks in colour as well, and the new cut of Adventure in Space and Time, and some of the other stuff that's been released around the anniversary. But that is all for another time because, quite frankly, I need to go and make some more predictions about Wild Beyonder, and I need to hype myself up for it. I might have to watch a Star Beast again for a 5th time.
Yeah. I mean, I could do it making some predictions for Wild Blue Yonder.
Yeah, I think we've got, I reckon this is going to be the one that's going to be quite fan-wanky in a way.
Yeah, I really hope so. I hope there is a lot of fan service.
I think because, we've had this fun episode now to suck everyone back into it and get them involved. And it was a really good episode, but there's enough there to keep sort of the fans happy and general audiences or new audiences or whatever. But next week now is a time, and they've said this is the one where it's like, unlike anything Doctor Who's done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, this has got to be more fan servicey based because I mean, it was no Star Beast, brilliant episode, but there was no like celebration of the 60 years of Doctor Who in some sense. Like you don't like there's nothing kind of showing stuff from different eras.
But we have still got 2 anniversary specials to go. It's like watching the first third of Day of the Doctor and going, that wasn't a very good celebration of Doctor Who. There's still
like that. I mean, that's
more
what I mean.
to come.
Like that, that there is some stuff coming. I mean, if there isn't, I'm not going to complain. We've got Doctor Who back, and it is bloody brilliant.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Score out of 10.
I'd give it an 8.5.
I'd give it an 8 for me.
Fair.
But I can't remember the last time I gave anything 8 out of 10. To be fair, I think the Power of the Doctor. I ended up, when we were talking about it afterwards, before this.
Yeah.
I think I said, did I say 6.5 or 7 or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, nothing's ever going to be a perfect 10. There's always going to be one little thing keeping it off that perfect 10 mark.
For me, there have been a few perfect 10s in Doctor Who.
Wilf?
No, I mean like just episodes in general.
Oh, fair.
But yeah, this for me was great. I loved it. The only things I had issue with were the stuff about how the meta crisis was resolved and that line. And I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Sean and a bit more of the sort of the funny, light-hearted side of the Wrath Warriors. But apart from that, everything else. Please fix the logo in the title sequence.
Like that whole scene in the house with the fight as well, where he's made the shields and stuff, and they're running around the loft and that.
Yeah,
like that's brilliant.
That's good. It's proper Saturday night telly.
Yeah, it's like there's a massive fight in the street. Wrath Warriors can fly, and none of them have gone to check the skylight.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
yeah, just slight little hole there.
I mean, they're being busy getting shot about you now. I guess,
true.
So, I don't know. Anyway, we could literally talk about this for hours, and
Well, we didn't even talk about Meep's turn properly, but yeah.
But okay, we'll talk about Meep's turn then.
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking.
I think it was good.
It was brilliant. You had that courtroom thing in St David's Centre car park, and just that sudden turn, Exhibit C, and just start shooting everyone, and then
where were you hiding everyone. That? You don't want to know.
Yeah, it was great.
I enjoyed it a lot. There's so much to. I mean, I could talk about this for much, much longer, but we don't want to bore you. We want to get ready for Saturday.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Again, we'll be back next week to talk about Wild Beyonder and make some predictions for the Giggle. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think of the Star Beast as well in the comments. Or on Twitter, follow us there, trying to build that up a bit more.
Yeah, and if you did like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Down there, or up there. Or I might just not edit this in so it just looks like, I just poke myself in the nose. I'm leaving that in because it's funny.
Oh, wow. Yeah, have a nice evening.
Should we watch the Star Beast again?
Yeah, let's
See you next week.
Ta-da.